Hey everyone, welcome back to Corvids and Coffee Podcast. My name is Liz, and with me today is my fellow horror movie fan and my friend Guy. Guy, say hello to the listeners, not the viewers, because they're not going to see the video. So,
Hello, listeners. I'm waving anyway because I don't know.
hi, we're waving hi. But
I'm
yeah, we're
I'm
going to talk
waving
about
hi.
yeah, and we've already had a little rant session about bunch of great horror movies, which we should review some more. Especially just like I'm trying to think, like even The Bride would actually be an interesting one because I've seen a lot of stuff kind of come up for like all this like different kind of stuff in media, especially for one movie in particular that I'll mention later, which is I think it's called My Monster, which came out like a year ago, which
Oh,
has
okay.
like a costume of the Bride of Frankenstein in it, which
Oh,
is kind
okay.
of fitting
Cool.
for it. It's a really good movie. It's also kind of like it's like horror romance. It's really weird to describe. You'd have to watch it, but it's very good. It's very cathartic to watch. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Frankenstein from 1931, a film adaptation, and kind of take our takes on it, and also kind of the whole thing of if we could resurrect life, like would it's like should we? Because like should you ever play God? And kind of like the drawbacks that Victor Frankenstein had when creating the monster, and kind of like his lack of accountability for the monster afterwards, which is really sad when you
No.
think about it, because it's almost like having a kid and then you're just like sort of just push them off to the side being like, okay, well, I don't want to deal with it anymore. That's not my responsibility kind of thing.
Oh yeah. He was ready to disown the creature completely.
Yeah, and it's like he was terrified, but it's like also a lot of people fear what they don't know or fully understand, which I feel like is such a big thing. Like, because there's so many people that it's like there's so many things in life, like people or otherwise, that are different in one way or another, and people are just like, oh, well, they're not like me, so they're automatically labeled a monster, which I feel like is a big thing. It's like
Yeah.
what's the word I had in here? Kind of like yeah, just like rejected by society because they don't fit the usual norm. And the monster is actually like pretty nice. Like it's just curious and wants to know kind of more about like well, you're coming to life for the first time and it's this hulking 6 foot,
Yeah.
7 foot tall monster. Yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, and
Yeah.
it was especially well portrayed in the novel. The monster was a victim. He
Was.
really was. He was built in the novel. He was obviously portrayed as being much more intelligent, not quite as monstrous, but still monstrous just by the fact that he was just very large, and it had to do with the doctor not being able to make things any smaller. So he had to make a much larger body. It's like technology with miniaturization. He
Yeah.
didn't have the technology to make the creature normal size. So you have this thing that's 8 feet tall,
It's like a
and is
kid in a
terrifying.
yeah, it's like a kid in an adult body. It's like you don't know what to do. It's just kind of and you're just kind of whoop, you're just into the world all of a sudden and you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stick closer to the movie version because the
Yeah, go
movie
ahead.
is very different from the book.
Mhm.
But in the original film, they made it was a major point of the story that the brain they used for the creature was a criminal brain, and it was a damaged brain. And that's why the creature that he was trying to build an equal to himself. He wanted to
Yeah,
build something, a creature that was going to be intelligent. It was going to be like a gentleman of that time period, and
like a colleague
failed
in a sense, like somebody he could talk with in the same level.
and just failed completely.
Yeah.
Just
It was just
completely
kind of like
failed.
really shooting for the moon and then not even reaching it only halfway with that and just kind of being like, "Oh, it's like I overshot what I was trying to achieve. Now I
Yeah.
have this thing. What do I do with it?" Or like, and it sucks because then it's just like, oh well, it's not my responsibility, and like the excessive ambition for him to be like, well, I could easily do this. I could create a person. I could bring them back to life, or I could create new life. And sort of like I feel like it was almost in a sense definitely to like to prove something to everybody else, but also to kind of being like almost play a little bit into his ego, kind of being like I can do this, and then not
Oh,
really caring
yeah.
about the repercussions after. Yeah, like just kind
Yeah.
of go without it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no. I was just gonna say no. That was very much it. Was him playing God, and they mentioned it. In the Boris Karloff movies, there were three. There was Frankenstein, obviously. There was Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, and it was very well put right out there in front that the doctor and the other doctors in the second movie there was Dr. Pretorius, who was working with Dr. Frankenstein. In the third movie, it was the son of Dr. Frankenstein, and they were all obsessed with creating new life. So to them, it wasn't just reanimating, a jumble of dismembered corpses. It was creating new life. They wanted to be God. And obviously, that kind of hubris is, especially in those movies, it really just backfired completely.
I would say the only thing I think the only case that any film adaptation where it actually worked out would have been Young Frankenstein, where they ended up doing the brain swap, where they were like,
Yeah.
okay, well we'll do this and we'll save both of us, and that way we both get like the benefit of it, and
Yeah.
they kind of learn from each other, both physically getting parts of the brains for each other, and then also getting the happy ending, and everyone being like, oh well, now it's like he's just like one of us kind of thing, like the realization it's just like you don't need to fear him. Obviously, that's more on the comedic side, which is one of my favorites. Though I
Yeah,
love
but
Peter
but
Boyle
it's
in that one.
it's still a solid movie.
Oh yeah,
It's
and the
it's a
musicals
very
are
solid
amazing.
movie. Yes, oh my god, that made me
Oh,
laugh ever since I was a kid. And a
that was
lot
the
of
best.
that movie was based on Son of Frankenstein. There was a lot of those same elements that were
Oh, I
used in
love
that
that.
movie, in Young Frankenstein.
Oh, it was so good. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely like I feel like there's definitely cases like today. I forget what it's called. It's like well, not like kind of like almost like aspects of like wanting to like clone people or like life extensions or what is it? It's I'm trying to think of the word for it. It's like where you get to kind of pick the DNA or traits that your future kids would have kind of thing. Like,
Oh yeah, the
oh,
gene
what is it
editing.
called?
Yeah,
Yes, gene
the
editing.
gene
It's
edit.
almost
Yeah,
like that where you're like people are trying to be like, oh, we can decide like what we want or how to shape new life into the future, whether it comes from like it's technically the replication of somebody else or we're making everything so that it's like the perfect human being. Sounds like something from a
right.
dystopian novel, which I'm sure you've read a ton of those ones where
Oh
it's just
yeah.
kind of like, okay, well, we want everyone to be the same. And I feel like it's like, well, no, I mean, the point of life is that life is messy and life is not perfect,
Yeah.
which is
That
what I feel like also what the monster represents. It's like it's not perfect.
it's
And
the
when you want that
imperfections
perfection,
that
you
make.
fail in it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's the imperfections that make us human, and there was a lot of that in the monster.
Yeah.
He was about as human as it gets. He was stuck in the world. He didn't know anything about it. He was having a tough time with it. Nobody understood him. He looked different, which I mean, you could even lump that in with society today, where he looked different and people were absolutely terrified of him.
They ultimately thought it was like you're a threat to society because you look different than us or you're not, it's like you're instantly scary. I mean, that's what a lot of people treat, like if you look different you have even so sort of like genetic component like genetic mutation or
Yeah,
sort of physical aspect. I'm trying to phrase it right. I'm like my brain's just not braining. Or even if you have something like mentally, like you could have autism or you could have like a mental disorder, but people will think it's like, oh, well, it's not, you're not typical normal, but it's just, it's one of those things where you accept everybody's different though, and everything's
yeah.
different. And also that's what makes life beautiful too.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there is, well, no, people say there's a lot more of that now, but that's not true. It's
Yeah.
just more identifiable now,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of fear mongery kind of talk about how, oh, it's on the rise. It's always been here. There's always been people whose brains function differently. It's just the
Yeah.
way it is.
It's
And
not
by
anything new.
differently, no, it really isn't. Now we just have, words for it. We have a better identification. We have better words for it. And a lot of, and just going back to it, there's a lot of that in the creature as well.
Yeah.
It's just something different. And he just wanted acceptance, and that's what anybody wants. Where he wanted to play, when the creature wanted to play with the little girl and saw her throwing the flowers, and he saw the flowers float. He thought she would float, and he wound up throwing her in a lake.
He
You,
didn't
you
know any
know,
better.
right? That's
He
exactly
wasn't
it.
taught. He wasn't taught to know any better. It's definitely that nature versus nurture kind of debate because it's definitely a thing of nurture with the his creator abandoning him and not really being able to even take the patience to be like, okay, well, now it's like it's like I'll teach you how the world works and how things work.
Hold.
Mom wants to know when she's supposed to start making the pasta.
In a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Give me like what, like 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, like 10 minutes most.
Yeah, like
Bye.
like like 10 minutes or so. Okay. You want to say hi to Liz?
Yes.
Here, say hi.
Hey, I hear you're going to Ghost soon, you lucky duck.
Hi.
Hi. You excited for Ghost?
Yes, I'm very
Oh my
excited.
god. Get some merch while you're there. Or have your dad
Oh, I
get you some
will.
merch while you're there.
I
Do
will.
it. Don't get the most expensive thing.
Pick out the most expensive thing.
Just get like the mask.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're gonna have an awesome time. It's the best.
yeah, I will.
Good. Well, I
Bye.
hope you're doing well,
All
and I
right,
hope you're enjoying
Captain.
the spooky season.
I am. Bye.
Good. Carve some pumpkins.
Bye.
All right. Can you just close the door? All right. Thank you. All right. I'll see you in a few.
Yeah, like 10 or 15 minutes?
Yes. Okay.
She's the sweetest. Oh my god.
Yeah. She's fine.
But yeah, I was gonna say, it's definitely it's interesting. Also, I love the design too for the character, because it's like because even looking at my little statue thing I have here, Frankenstein, like with the bolts
Yeah.
and everything, it's very
That
just
was
like a very graphic depiction.
Jack Pierce was the makeup
Mm,
designer. And that was all his idea, having the flat head,
yeah,
having the electrodes in his neck.
I love the bolts, which kind of makes sense because for the whole
Yeah.
transmission the electricity throughout the body, it makes sense. Kind of like a point of just like a zzz, goes like right through.
Yeah, I mean I mean that makeup is it's I mean it's obviously so iconic. It's instantly
Oh
recognizable. We were talking we mentioned Herman Munster before.
yeah, oh my god, the
So
friendly good ending of Frankenstein would be him.
right, and that's exactly it. And it's funny because the Munsters was released by Universal,
Yeah,
they were allowed to use almost that exact same Karloff makeup.
I
And
love it.
nobody else has ever been allowed to do it. You'll see variations from time to time, but it's
Like
never
kind of
exactly the
hinting
same.
towards it. Oh yeah, it can never
Right.
be like full on like okay, like we can do exactly the same as like no, it has to be there has to be a good amount of differences. Or it looks like
Yeah.
it's kind of Frankenstein monster ish, but it's not
Hmm.
the look.
I
But
always
yeah,
feel like
I love look.
the monster is very recognizable. Especially, did you watch that show Penny Dreadful?
I did watch some of it where it has like
R-
kind of all the actually let me look up
Right.
Penny Dreadful because it's been a while. I remember when it was on like Netflix and stuff.
Yeah, it had all the kind of Victorian era. They had Dr. Jekyll in it. They had the creature. And they had Dr. Frankenstein. But the show starts with him showing the creature, showing around his creation, Adam, who looked just like a normal guy, and he was showing him everything. And then suddenly he's just killed from behind by another creature, an earlier version who is, for all intents and purposes, Frankenstein's monster from the novel, who
Oh
kills
wow.
his the next version. And I always love the idea of the creature was not the final version. He was basically another in a beta test
He's
before
like a
he got it
draft
down.
sort of like this is the prototype. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always been fascinated with the idea of what he had done before the creature that we know in the novel, or the creature that we know as Frankenstein's monster. So but there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that hubris. There is a scene in The Bride of Frankenstein where they were building him a bride. You know,
Yeah.
and the other doctor that was working alongside Dr. Frankenstein was Dr. Pretorius. And he says, they gives a toast to himself and Frankenstein. He says, to a new world of gods and monsters. And that was it. Like they saw themselves as gods, and it was very interesting. I mean, the creature was on board. It was the smartest you'll ever see the Boris Karloff creature before the third movie where he was damaged because he's always dropping castles on himself. But it's such an interesting character. The creature is so human all the time. He just wants love. He wants respect. And not to necessarily jump too far ahead, but it's always very obvious that Dr. Frankenstein and Dr. Frankenstein's son, Dr. Frankenstein, and Dr. Pretorius from Bride, it's very clear that they're the monsters. They're the ones that
Without a
are
doubt.
playing God. They're the ones that are making these creations and literally ruining them. They're offering them nothing. They're offering them life, but with no purpose
That's it. They're just kind of like
aside
you're
from
now
just
here and that's it.
yeah,
Kind of like not a like you're going to be like we're going to incorporate you into society. We're going to teach you what there is to know and you'll have all this knowledge to yourself like to be able to access like bringing in and being like, it's like, you are my creation, you are my child in a sense. And it's like, and I will, it's like, do everything for you or do everything
It's
to get yourself settled in. And instead of
right.
just like, well, you're here and now get out.
It
You're just a test. You were just a test, and now I have to go. I have better things to continue with.
it's terrible
Very selfish.
parenting. It's terrible parenting. It's just,
It is. It's
having a
awful. You're like,
child
oh, I
as a
want a
proof of
kid.
concept.
That's it. You're
It's a
like
kid as
done.
proof of concept. Exactly.
It is. So I was gonna say for those who want kids, think of this as like a parable of being like, well, are you ready to to have the better ending of Frankenstein, where you do teach them how to go into this world, not just throwing them out there and expecting like, oh well, I'll be fine. It's whatever. No, I mean it's like that's
Yeah.
how you shape them and that's how you nurture them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the poor creature did not have any of that.
No,
he
he's
he was just
tormented
kind of
with
out.
the fire and with cruelty and just harm and all because he of all the just simple things he wanted out of life. And just to be and even be loved probably by his own creator because it is like a parent to him. And just kind of being
Yeah.
like, it's like, well, I want that love and to be recognized as, as your creation. Instead it's just kind of like, no, I was just a mistake and that was it.
Yeah, and true to form of, that kind of bad parenting is eventually the creature grew to hate him. And especially in the novel. Like when you read the novel, it's
Oh
like, man, this thing really had it out for him. Like he was really gonna kill him.
yeah,
And
he's just like,
and
this
and it
guy's
played out the same way in the movies where it was,
oh yeah,
okay, this is
this is
how
what
this ends,
yeah.
you know. And
It's
but
very much the I hate my dad, but like it makes so much sense though. I mean, like okay, but you
yes.
actually hate him because he is a terrible person.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Not
it.
being
Here's
like
my creation and that's that.
yeah, and then to be like, well, Victor, you suck. But yeah, but I definitely agree. The creature is not evil, and he
No,
is
no.
probably, if anything, more human than Victor Frankenstein ever was.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the creature he was a victim. He never asked to be built. He never asked to be, brought back to life. Well, not even brought back to life, brought to life because it was,
Just
he
kind of thrust
obviously
into
had
this.
no real memories. But yeah,
And there's
just kind
also
of
oh sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. Go ahead. I was done.
Well, I was gonna say it's kind of like with the trailer I sent you for the Bride movie that comes out, which I feel
Yes.
like is going to be definitely like a longer instance of like learning more about that character in particular, but in that iteration in like the 1930s. It's sort of being like, well, it's kind of hinted that, or sort of being like, oh, was my death like how did it happen? And be like, well, it wasn't a mistake. It's like it didn't just happen. This was part of a plan to you know bring you back as something else and them
Yeah.
being like and especially the bride being like well I don't even remember what my name was and just like having that in a sense of being like almost like another life but knowing that you were something else before and not being able to even connect that is also a crazy thing which I don't know if the monster
Yeah.
necessarily had that it was more of just a well now you're kind of like oh well now you're a new thing you're just in this kind of pieced together body.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and it's not even like you're a different person. It's a new life form. What I really like, if you do watch Son of Frankenstein, which I highly recommend, it's not.
But I'm gonna see if it's on Prime tonight. Watch it.
It is. It's not a phenomenal
I'll watch
movie,
it.
right? Or it might
It's
be on
worth watching
MGM
though.
Plus.
Yeah.
It is because they get into a lot of the actual physicality of the creature, where because it's Dr. Frankenstein's son. And it is, his heart rate is this crazy heart rate because he has this metabolism and the way he's designed, it's like he's stronger than anything. Like they get into a lot of the creature being a construct
Mhm.
and not just a sad monster. They make it clear that the creature is much more than that and was
Mhm.
potentially designed to be better. They use the word superhuman, and this was 35, 35, 36, I want to say. But, they make very clear that this was not, a dead person who was put back together and brought back to life. Like he was something truly special and that he was potentially meant to be something truly special. And it was just circumstance that was against him. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's,
Crazy.
again, very, very indicative of society then. It reflects on society now, almost 100 years later, where if you start out in the wrong place at the wrong time, the wrong background in the case of the creature, you're fucked right out of the gate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
I
to
mean,
swear.
that's no, no. I was gonna say, fucked is a good way to put it. Where you're like, you kind of are at a huge, besides that, a huge disadvantage. Like you're just kind of,
Definitely.
when you're like, well, now you have to deal with it, and the outcome's probably not going to be good. Or like, what would happen, and your life may end up being cut short because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly it. I've always been fascinated by Frankenstein's monster. It's always been a very any iteration of it has always been a fascinating character to me. Even if you ever watch like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where De Niro
Yeah.
played the monster, an underrated performance. He was great as the monster. Again, even going back to Young Frankenstein, like Peter Boyle was great as the
Oh yeah.
monster.
Well, it's funny
Fred,
when yeah, when I watched that, my dad was just like, that's the grandfather from Everybody Loves Raymond. I'm like, that's
yeah,
so weird to think that he was the monster because you don't. Well, also you can't really recognize because the makeup and stuff. But
right,
it's kind of funny because you're like I didn't even know they were in this like that they performed in this. It's really
yeah,
that would be weird to be like De Niro was the creature like that. Like it's just weird kind of stuff. Or like, oh,
yeah.
I really wouldn't see them in that role. But it's because you've watched kind of everything else they were in first, and then you kind of go back to that, and you're like, oh, it's weird. It's not their usual role. Yeah.
Right. Just as like a side thing, like probably my last point or my last observation was going back to the Munsters, where
Yes.
Fred Gwynn obviously wasn't really Frankenstein's creature, but he was. Is that Herman was so childlike or at the very least innocent. And if I don't know if you ever watched the Munsters, like not long ago, me, my wife, and my daughter, we watched through the whole series. Right, it's only 2 seasons.
Oh, there should have been more though. Too
It
short.
was, I mean, they were long seasons. They were like 30 episodes a season, but it was abundantly clear that the show was about immigrants in the United States because they were repeatedly shit on for being different, for
Yeah.
in a few cases of the show them not being from this country, meaning America in the 50s and 60s. Every time they even mention the old country, people around them tend to get upset, and there were very few people that looked past what they looked like,
Yeah, because they couldn't
and
get over the striking difference in appearance and the way they lived, kind of thing. Like it was just like it's really odd. Just like not really
yeah,
getting past it. Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of cultural stuff. People that were, it wasn't so much the way the family looked, even though it was from time to time, and obviously with Herman, but it was always a cultural thing. People had a problem with how they lived, where they lived, the things that they did on their own time, and I always felt like that held true also to the creature, where he wanted acceptance, he wanted to be respected for who he is, or at the very least, if not welcomed into society with open arms, at the very least
Have some
be
kindness.
included. Right, have some
To be
kindness,
sure.
to be included. And that's all anybody wants. So maybe we're all the creature is
Yes,
one
you're all
way
the
to look
creature.
at
As
it.
long as you're not Victor Frankenstein, then I think you're good. You're in the right direction because
that's
also the
that's
differences
really
make
it.
you special.
We
The good
need
differences. As long as
more
you're not harming anyone.
creatures,
We do need more creatures.
less Dr. Frankensteins.
Yes, don't be a Dr. Frankenstein. And if anyone does it out there, it's Frankenstein's monster, not Frankenstein. Just so, just put it on the record because everyone forgets that.
Yes.
Not you though. We're horror movie fans, so we got this.
No, we already know.
Yeah, we
We
already know.
already got it.
But yeah, we'll wrap up this episode. And Guy, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a
And
pleasure to talk to you and get to rant about cool stuff.
I,
Especially
I'm
when we're
happy
talking
to
about the
be
plot.
here.
We'll actually have to talk about that.
Yeah, I will. You tell me when. It's nice to be back in the podcasting realm again. It's been a long time for me, so I'm happy to do it.
Well, welcome back.
So
I'd love to have you as a semi-regular host. Well, my other co-hosts are being my sisters are also usually pretty busy, but I think it would be you and my friend Paige that are now the more consistent ones. So I'd love to have you on the group.
name the time, name the place. I'm here. All right.
Got it,
This is
you
fun.
got it. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I was gonna say, well, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you have a wonderful and spooky season. Maybe some of you dress up as a creature. I know my sister and her fiance will, so I'll be helping them with the makeup. But as
Awesome.
always, stay tuned, everybody.